Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Drumcast. I am Drummer Man. I'm here with Darrin Doughty, and today we're going to be talking about entrepreneurship, which is very near and dear to both of our hearts because we really are entrepreneurs. Like, we really are trying to make a brand out of ourselves and push that narrative. So we want you to be inspired as well. We're just going to talk a little bit back and forth about entrepreneurship and a couple questions I'm going to ask Darrin as an entrepreneur. He is a CEO of his own company, and he's really like somebody who I think is a great example of an entrepreneur. So the first example, yeah, of course, man. I appreciate you being on. The first thing I want to ask you is, can you talk a little bit about entrepreneurship? Like, what does that mean to you, being an entrepreneur and entrepreneurship in general?
To me, personally, what that means to me is working for yourself, being your own boss, making your own money, taking your own risk. Now, let's look at the real definition of entrepreneur. Entrepreneur, a person who organizes and operates a business or businesses, taking on greater than normal financial risk in order to do so. I do that.
Facts.
I lost a lot of money in my ventures. I made a lot of mistakes. I made a lot of risks to try to get to where I need to be. And, you learn on the way, trial and error.
Yeah, man. Entrepreneurship is not an easy path. There's no cookbook to being an entrepreneur. You're kind of building your path as you go.
Exactly, man.
And speaking of entrepreneurship, like, I think for me, a big thing with entrepreneurship is really just using your time wisely and trying to create the most amount of capital, right? In the least amount, not the least amount of time, but I think a lot of times people, when they have a obviously, if a lot of people, they have a 9 to 5 grind, right? And they have a limit to how much money they can make, right? In an hour, you're paid this much, and then you're taxed on top of that. Being an entrepreneur is so great because you're not putting a limit as to what you can do and how much money you can make. And that's pretty empowering. I think when you have to listen to a boss, or you have to listen to somebody tell you what to do or tell you information that you can learn for yourself, especially with the internet nowadays, like, why not do that? Why not take that leap of faith and really be in an industry that you love? Like Darrin right here, like, he doesn't love real estate, but he loves money. He loves making money. So
I love real estate too. As the first time I got into real estate, I didn't love it. Just like anything, when you start to love something once you start to get good at it. Like I didn't like when I first got into boxing, because I'm also a boxer. I hated boxing, but as I learned to get better and better, I started to love it. So the same thing with real estate. I'm starting to love it. I'm starting to learn something every day. But what really inspired me to be a real estate agent was that at the time I was researching what industries create the most millionaires and billionaires. So at that time, real estate was number 2. So now it's number 3. No, but that's still big. It's number 3 that create the most millionaires in America. Number 1 being financial services, banks, places like Fidelity that do, that work with the stocks and everything, financial institutions. Number 2 was industrial conglomerates. So with conglomerates is basically a company that goes into multiple industries, from my understanding. So if you looked at Disney, and Disney are in movies, and it's Disney World. For example, Samsung is a conglomerate. It sells phones, and it also sells actually military equipment. Now, I didn't even know that. So like that's what a conglomerate is. I want to be a conglomerate, but a conglomerate is something that they have a majority viewpoint. Like if you would think of Disney, you would think of the movies, you would think of Disney World. So it's kind of like that. And since I'm talking about the categories, number 3 was real estate, like I said. The next one after that was food and beverages. Everybody needs to eat, And number 5, surprisingly, is technology. So that's actually what inspired me to actually get into real estate and, further my dreams of being a real estate investor. And then, from making my stair steps to where I really want to be,
Yeah, man. And bringing it all the way back, like what are some people who really inspired you to be an entrepreneur? Like it could be anybody, like who really comes to mind right off the bat?
Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs, he was rich when he was a millionaire at age 21. Shoot, no, bro, he was acting a fool with that money because he's new at it, but he inspired me a lot. Bill Gates inspired me a lot. And if you look at all the richest people, they all are entrepreneurs. Like you look at Mark Zuckerberg, you look at Warren Buffett, like he's working for himself always. Like he had mentors, but he's working for himself. He's an entrepreneur. You look at Mark Cuban, the owner of the Dallas Mavericks, but he also is in tech companies as well. If you look at Elon Musk, the creator of PayPal, SpaceX, and Tesla. I didn't even know he made PayPal. PayPal is a big part of everybody's life, man. Like entrepreneurship is definitely a way to go, and I feel like our generation is moving into the right field because in past generations we always was worried about having a 401k or a pension plan, but now we're starting to understand that you can't be on your own until you own your own. Yeah, you like that?
I like that one, man. And and I think, man, to be an entrepreneur, like, like there's plenty of failure in it, right? Like I feel like you just can't be afraid to fail. And I feel like some people are so afraid to fail that they don't even try, right? And that's the problem, is that if you have that mentality, you never know what you can do, right? Like
exactly, man.
You never know how far you can go. And there really is no limit to how far you can go. The limit is what you limit yourself to, right? Like that's
exactly, man. You only truly fail when you like stop, when you give up. That's when you like, what was his name? The person that created the light bulb?
Thomas Edison?
Thomas Edison. Thomas Edison said he failed 1,000 times, but he said, I didn't fail 1,000 times. I found out 1,000 ways how the light bulb does not work. You know what I mean? Like something along those lines. And that's very powerful. Like you got to have a different perspective about your failures. Look at them as learning stones, because people don't really learn from their successes. I learn more from my failures, man. It's a teacher.
That's 100% true. Like if you're just successful and you just get successful right off the bat, you're just going to be like, oh, well, I know how to do it. Right. And that's just such a closed-minded way of looking at life. Like everything is changing. You have to be able to adapt. And
exactly,
a business that's successful maybe a year or two might not be, 5 or 10 years down the line. Like
exactly.
very important, man.
Like I was about to say, who are the worst people in the world? You know what I mean? Like spoiled people. Like they don't have any type of like
drive.
They just don't, drive. They don't have any type of They don't have any substance. Ralph Lauren was also an entrepreneur, man. He's poor as hell. Look at him now.
Yeah, man. And I think a lot of these newer, like even going into music, I think a lot of these newer artists, they don't realize they're entrepreneurs. Like,
Exactly. But you know what's wrong with these rappers, man? And we could probably talk about this another time. But rappers, it's like they depend on the label to get to where they need to be, but they don't need to do that, because when you're under a label, you're giving up your copyrights. So all the work that you've been doing, you don't own that. Your label owns all that stuff. So like that's what a lot of artists start to realize as they get into the industry longer and longer. And then they're like, damn. But people like Nipsey Hussle, people like Prince, they realized that they're getting played because they knew their album could get sales of like $50 million, but they only signed a $5 million contract. They're getting played. So I think entrepreneurship is more like finding dependency, like being independent, actually.
Not relying on anyone.
Not relying on anybody. Okay, so like rappers, they are entrepreneurs, but they're still relying on people.
Yeah, I meant more toward like the independent artists, like the people who go on YouTube, like go on SoundCloud, post their stuff, and like they don't even sign with a label. Like I think that's true entrepreneurship.
And they're taking risks, man, because they're putting stuff out there, and then they're like anybody can think anything about them, negative or positive. You know what I mean? So they're putting themselves out there, and that's what it's all about. Is like getting through that fear. I completely agree.
Another great entrepreneur, 50 Cent, you know, like talk about a huge mogul in the rap industry and business industry in general. Like this man has been in Vitamin Water. He's written books. He's done movies. The Power series is huge. He's doing
It's
another one
huge.
now.
Right. Alcohol. He's been in video games. Like he's a beast, man. He's cut from a different cloth.
And like that, like he could have just been, I'm just gonna be this gangster rapper dude. But like I feel like he really thought like, I'm more than that. Like I'm more than just this that people label me as. And that's another important thing is don't let people just put you in a box. Like
Exactly. You know,
like
fun fact about 50 Cent, man, like Shady Records wasn't his first record deal. Like that was like his number 5. So he was getting like record deal offers each time, and he would deny them because he didn't want to do it for the money. He wanted to do it for the long term. And he's seen Shady Aftermath as something that could grow him to the hypest. That's his 5th one. You gotta be really persistent and strong-minded to dodge like 5 or 3 like offer deals. You know what I mean? Like he's waiting for that perfect moment. So also don't just accept things just because it falls in your lap. You know, you got to actually think about it.
exactly. Like I think Jeff Bezos talked about that too. He had to ask so many investors to invest in his company. I think it was like 100 investors he had to talk to. And I think like maybe 4 of them actually gave him money to invest in his company. But if he hadn't done that, man, if he just said after like 55, oh, I'm done with this, like
it's persistence, man. It's virtue, bro. Patience is virtue. Like look at another example, the girl that created the Harry Potter book.
J.K. Rowling, yeah.
Bro, I forgot what number of declines she got. It was like 500 decline, but she kept going. Harry Potter, everybody loves Harry Potter. People in the hood love Harry Potter. Everyone loves Harry Potter, man. And it would not have been possible if it wasn't for her persistence. Like persistence, discipline, willpower, they all play a big part in being entrepreneurship. And it's not something that you're born with. It's something that it's a muscle. You got to strengthen that.
Yeah, you got to have that vision too, right? Like you have to see that vision before anybody else sees it. Like that's very important as well, man.
You got to believe it before anyone else believes it, man. Definitely.
Facts. So I'm going to finish with one more question for you, man. So this I think is actually something that like, not a lot of people know about. So what's like the importance of having a mentor and what is that? How does that tie into entrepreneurship?
It plays a big part, man. Like I like to use Dragon Ball Z as a reference a lot because it literally depicts on how a mentor should be used. If you look at the protagonist Goku, like he started out with Master Roshi because he found out that he was the top person to teach him where he wanted to be. He didn't go to the mediocre people. He went to, yeah. So like he like I like to use that story to myself because like okay, you can get to where you want to be a lot faster if you had a mentor. If you had a mentor to tell you what you should and should not do, you could save yourself the headache of learning by trial and error. Because, when I first started, I thought I can just do this, I'll just learn. But it took me a lot longer. But when I start to learn from other people's mistakes and successes, you get there a lot faster. Like if you look at another nerd moment is like Goku took forever to become Super Saiyan, right? But when he had kids, his kids learned that shit in a couple years. They lowered that learning curve a lot. So having a mentor is number one thing you should do when you want to go work for yourself.
Yeah, man, inspire to be like the people you aspire to be, right? Like the people that you see as the people you want to become, like talk to those people, like really engage with them because they have had plenty of failures that you're not going to see just by looking at them. All you're going to see is the success. Like
exactly
very important.
Here's how you know who to go for as a mentor. Think about the car you want. Think about the house you want. Think about the lifestyle you want, and then find somebody that has that stuff. That's all it is. Pay for his lunch, pay for his dinner, Take him out to dinner, man, and, you know, learn from him, create a relationship with him, and he can give you those golden nuggets to get you to the same point that he got to.
Yeah, and if a person is truly trying to leave a legacy and pass on that knowledge, they're gonna want to help you. And that's the thing. A lot of people think people are like, you're gonna be bothering them, or there may be sometimes people will be like, okay, like I reject that, and that's fine. But there are also people who just love to spread knowledge, and it's up to you to really reach out and show that interest, you know?
Definitely. They're the least. Oh fuck it.
Scary or like.
Nah, they're the least like selfish people. They're the least selfish people like you could think of. Like they're not.
They're
They're not gonna. Yeah, they're very generous, especially with knowledge. You know, of course they're not gonna give you $1 million in your pocket. They're not. Who would? Who would give you $1 million? But they would give you knowledge. You know, teach a man to fish rather than give him a fish.
That's my favorite quote, man.
Yeah. Hey, man, thanks for having me here, bro. I love being on your show and talking.
Man, I love having you on, bro. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule, man. And everybody, I want you guys to go check out his page on the bottom right here. Like his page. He, like I said, Lan, I reached out to, I put like a Facebook post, and he reached out to me. So we're talking about people who are generous and want to spread knowledge. I think Darrin is one of those people who is definitely going to be a mentor to somebody looking to be in real estate, or just to know a little bit more information in terms of real estate. So I would definitely check his page out. Man, I couldn't thank you enough for being on here, man. It's been such a great experience. I can't wait to have you on another episode, you know, maybe talk about.
I can't wait myself, man.
Yeah, brother. I'm gonna wrap this up. Peace.